Good afternoon, it's Lee Cassidy from Tactile Technology. We've been doing some sessions on Remedio, some lunch and learn for the last 4 weeks. This is our fourth. So the last three I've been introducing you to different people. So we had the head of sales for UK and Ireland, Jamie Byers, our first one. We had more join us who does the product and also alliances VP for Remedio, and then last week we had we've had another one. So we had Alan, who's the head of marketing, and then last week we had Matt Rowe, who's the chief technology officer at Remedio. So each week we've been showing you more people, but we've never shown you the product. So this week we're going to focus on product. So I'm going to actually show you what the product can do. And we're going to focus on just a couple of different areas that I think will be of interest. So let's take a quick look of what the actual system looks like. So this is the top level and showing misconfigurations. I'm going to be looking left because my main screen's got more on it. So sorry about showing the camera into my right ear. But down the left-hand side, what we've got is some key things. One is we've got misconfiguration, giving us a picture of the misconfigurations we've got on the system, but it also identifies the device coverage. So in this case, we've got 13,000 devices on this demonstration platform. We've got 7,400 of those are Windows non-VDI endpoints. We've got some Windows data center servers, 100 of those. We've also got some Windows non-DC servers, so they're not in a data center, but they are servers that are utilized. We've got 2,000 of those. We've also got some Debian, Red Hat, and also CC Linux platform, and we've got 1,000 Mac OS desktops as well there. So quite a good split of infrastructure that you might have in an organization. The platform is happy to be used for 1,000 endpoints plus. So if you've got 200,000 endpoints or millions, again, this platform will actually work with that. Below that, then, it's talking about what the status is from a misconfiguration, and I've got global trend at the moment. So what's trending globally as an attack vector, and it's picking out the top 5 out of everything that's there. But what I could do is actually select more if I wanted. So if I went to all attack vectors, it's going to show me 350 misconfigurations, whereas at the moment it's focusing on 41, which are the key ones that we need to look at. So we can look at it in different ways. I'll come back to this page afterwards and we'll actually look into more depth about a misconfiguration. But I think one of the other things that we're really good is to look at security compliance. And what we can do is look at CIS compliance and actually tell us where we are from a perspective of CIS. But we can also use custom policies, and we can actually make up custom policies. And one of those might be something around Cyber Essentials and Cyber Essentials Plus, so we can actually validate that as well. But I think two other things that are really important here is one is the executive summary, so you can actually show where you are. And as a CISO or a senior executive who's spending money on cybersecurity technology, you really need to be able to show what the actual technology is doing and the investments doing for you. And with this, it's going to give you a good picture of what's happened since you made the last change. How has your attack vector, your attack surface changed? How it's more secure are you? But also look at other addressable factors that you can do. You know, the risk impact of specific things that you've got on the system, what the license coverage is. Are you missing out some devices you've got on your systems? But also look at the trends as well. So it gives you a really good understanding of where you are. And you can look at it over periods of time as well to see how you're improving. But you can also export this as a PDF file, and you can share that with people to say, look, this is what our situation was last month. This is where we are this month. So people get an understanding of how you're actually improving the actual security standpoint of and status of the organization. I think the other thing is the Action Center. It's going to give you a picture of things that need to be done and when they've been done, so you can actually understand that. But let's go back to misconfiguration. And I'm conscious of time. We've spent 5 minutes just talking about what you can see here. let's focus on a particular thing. So it could be something like Log4j, or it could be SMB version 1. I'll stick with SMB version 1 because it is a problem a lot of people have got, and a lot of people spend a lot of time going through systems and actually disabling SMB version 1 because it has got some specific vulnerabilities. In this case, we've got something like 5.2, 7,500 systems affected by it. So if I select that, it gives us more detail now about it. It tells us more information about the actual attack vector and what can be done, and the different versions that can be done. It'll also tell us what we can do about remediating different platforms as well. So give us that information before we make a decision. It also gives us a picture of our exposure. How many devices are being affected by that particular attack vector, and how it can affect us. But I think one of the key things is down here, we can actually see now that SMB version 1 has not been used on a very large number of machines, 5.2 thousand machines in the last 90 days. So that gives us confidence that that particular piece of software, and component within Windows is not actually being utilized by at least 5,000 of the 7,000 machines that we've been alerted to that SMB version 1 is a problem. So if I now select SMB version 1, what I can do is I could remediate that by selecting remediate. And what I can do is select when I want to do this, but also I can also say reapply, because as we know, with some changes, we might get an instance that that particular thing comes back because we put some more software on there or reinstall that particular machine from a backup, and we could end up being in the same situation we were before. But by putting auto reapply, if we end up with this particular machine being back with SMB version 1, or one of these 5.2 thousand machines, I should say, coming back with SMB 1 re-enabled and misconfigured, it will apply it again within an hour of seeing it come live on the system. So quite quickly we'll get back to where we wanted to be. With the scheduling, we've got options there. We can actually specify when. And one of the other things we can do is we can integrate this with ServiceNow so that it actually pushes through a ticket as a change management piece, so it can be authorized by someone else rather than the individual who's doing this, and it will then be signed off as a change management activity. And when that's agreed, the actual work will be carried out. So the actual work. So if I would click remediate now, that would actually apply that within an hour to as many machines as possible and do it in turn. So we would end up with 5.2 thousand, so 5,200 machines would be then updated, and SMB version 1 would not be a problem. We've got then now another large group of machines that are actually using it. And what we can do is look at those machines and see when it was actually used SMB1. So that allows us to be a little bit more focused on machines that might actually be using it, rather than the 5,200 that we know aren't using it, that we've quite quickly fixed. But one of the big differences here is I'm not having to get engineers to go and check all these 5,000 machines and apply that remediation manually, or create scripts and deploy those scripts and check that those scripts have actually functioned correctly. All I'm doing is selecting those machines and saying remediate, and it's actually applying that remediation, whether that's a Windows remediation or whether it was another platform. Because when we're talking about Log4j, it might have been a Linux platform as well as a Windows platform that have got a problem in its web server that's been used on there. So we can quite quickly fix problems and also reapply that fix if at some point in the future it becomes another issue again. Once we've done that, what we can do then is go and look at our executive summary again, and we will gradually see that risk impact lowering, based on SMB version 1 in this case, it will start to reduce, and we'll see how we've actually improved the security of our organization over that period of time. So it's quite quick here to, one, understand where the issues lie, quickly understand the machines that are not going to impact the organization if we make any changes to them, but we can quite quickly apply that remediation without having to use manpower. So quite quickly it's deployed, and we can validate that's been deployed as well on the back of that. So Remedio is taking away a lot of the work. And we talk about, the 7 road bridge and 4th road bridge, sorry, that how sometimes you start painting it, and when you get to the end, you've got to start at the other end again. And that seems to be what we're doing a lot of times with vulnerabilities within an organization. We never get to the point where we're down to 0 vulnerabilities, because we're always finding more while we're working to actually remediate them. With this, because it's automated, we're going to get rid of a lot of those problems really quickly, but also understand if we're actually in a better position by looking at our executive summary and understanding what position we're in afterwards from our risk impact perspective. So a massive difference in where we are and what we can see. Again, we can also see under the device summary how many devices we've got across all of these machines. In this case, we've got 7,400 Windows-based machines, and when we actually would remediate those 5,200, that will drop down that level of risk dramatically on this. So hopefully that's given you a very basic understanding of what Remedio does from an impact perspective around misconfiguration. So Remedio is not like a standard vulnerability management tool. It's not one of your Rapid7 or other pieces of software that would do that. What it's doing is identifying the pieces that are normally in the gap between the different products, but will also give you vulnerability management as well. So it's misconfigurations. And what we found is majority of attacks that happen nowadays are utilizing a misconfiguration. Something like 85% of attacks utilize misconfiguration in, one, getting into the system in the first place, or secondarily, with that lateral movement, they're actually utilizing those misconfigurations to get around and spread through the systems. So what this product will do will actually help you understand the risk, reduce that risk, but also do it without using massive amounts of people power, especially if you're a large organization. I'm just going to remove that from the screen. So we've gone through that. So next week, what we'll do is go into more depth in another area. And I think what we need to talk about next week is about creating custom CIS maps so we can actually understand where we are from a compliance perspective, because I think that's a very important area that we need to know is about compliance. And what we'll do is we'll create a custom area that looks at the cyber essentials factors for the UK, because we're using that as a standpoint. But we can also use something like MITRE or another framework to actually create a mapping to understand where we are from a risk perspective as well. But that gives us hopefully a good starting point. You can see how we can identify misconfigurations, how we can then decide whether there'll be an impact on operational systems by remediating those misconfigurations, and how we can actually deploy the misconfigurations, the remediation of those misconfigurations without using people to do it. Thank you very much for joining me today. I'm going to say it's a nice quick one, 15 minutes. I'm trying to keep these to between 15 and 20 minutes each time. So hopefully that's giving you a good understanding of what we can do with the system. And then what I'm going to do next week, like I say, is go into more depth around the compliance side, because that's a big issue for a lot of organizations, is compliance, to making sure that you're meeting the requirements for your particular organization's compliance, tied to something like finance or payment card infrastructure, or generically something like CIS or with the UK Cyber Essentials. Thank you very much. If you want to know more, you can contact me through LinkedIn, or if you want to look at the website and see Remedio itself, you can go to the website and have a look at it and give you a bit more detail, and also ask for more information as well. Thank you very much, and hopefully see you next week when we look at more around the compliance side of things. Thank you very much.